Here we go. Hello, everybody. Gail Craft here from the Empowering Process Podcast. Thank you for joining us. I have with me Yanko Yankov. He is the founder of a company called Hypnoyan LLC. Kind of guess what he does. I want you to really listen to this man. Yanko is a passionate hypnotist whose journey through life took an unexpected turn, and we're going to talk about that, following a life-changing event in May of 2017. Before discovering his calling as a hypnotist, Yanko spent 15 years mastering the tech world as a lead data center support specialist. Haven't we, many of us, been there? His transition into hypnotism came after profound personal experience that sparked a deep interest in exploring the mysteries of the mind and spirituality. On this episode, he's going to share his insights on his spiritual journey and on the spiritual journey, the enlightening a world of hypnotism, and the beauty of finding balance and harmony in every aspect of life. This is going to be so much fun, Yanko. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
It's going to be so much fun. So let's get to it. So what is the event that happened in 2017?
Well, I had a near-death experience, if I can call it that. I almost left this world, and that kind of changed the perspective of life for me, and I just made a huge difference in life. I wasn't thinking much of anything before that.
So what was the near-death experience? What happened?
So I was keeping bees at that time, because that's something that runs on the family. My dad, it's a beekeeper, and my granddad, it's a beekeeper, and my granddad, it's a beekeeper.
Wow.
And so we were keeping bees, and every spring, because of the weather around here, in the Chicagoland, and the weather in spring, it's kind of crazy. It rains all the time, and the bees gets frustrated. They start to swarm, which is a natural process of the hives that they do. They just swarm up in the morning. They, get up to a tree and bull up, and then the beekeeper can, shake him into a box and have him situated in a new box or a new home.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because that happens a lot, and we had quite a bit of hives, I'll catch like maybe 4 or 5 per day on that period of time. And because I'm not allergic, I wasn't like really wearing any kind of protection, because I've been doing that many years, and it happens every time. But that day something changed. When I was up on the ladder, I lost balance, and instead of falling down and maybe breaking a leg or something else, I decided to let the swarm fell on me, and then just kind of climb down and clean up. But I got stung so many times, and it got to the point, because the bee venom, it's more dangerous and more poisonous than the cobra's venom, but because it's in small quantities, it's not really like that dangerous for people. But when you get to a certain quantity, your body gets in shock. So both my hands were covered with stingers, like a porcupine, and so I started to lose consciousness. I was in and out. I situated whatever was left from the hive in a home, and I moved back in the house. And at that point, I started to get in and out, and I had the feeling that the body is shutting down, and this is it. Like I'm dying. I'm dying. I'm having this like anxiety of dying, and And every time I'll go in and out, I'll have like pixels, or like kind of like in the computers coming back, and like whoop, you get picture and then you don't. And I don't know what point medics picked me up, but I noticed that I still had body awareness at that point, because the body started to get in shock and it was shaking. Um, and it felt cold. And I kind of see my entire life to that point goes on like almost like a story, like, okay, I had this, and until this point, I it was just nothing. Like I felt like I haven't accomplished anything. I felt like like I could have done better. And then there was a thought that I'll try better next time. And then after that, I was like, where's this thought come from? Like, how did I know that there's going to be a next time after this? But I felt in peace, and I was okay with whatever happens. I was just like, okay, this is it. And that was it. And then I regained consciousness back in the hospital, and they were having me hooked up to a machine, checking everything out, and brought me back in. And that's pretty much it. Um, and then after that situation, I started to think more of like what inspire and this whole like scene and everything. And then I kind of retrospecting back in life, I recall two other incidents in my life where I could have died, but I didn't die. And everyone was like almost within 10 or 15 years apart, like as growing up, like one around when I was 14 or 15. I could have drowned, but I didn't drown. And it was kind of like the same. I give up, and I was like, okay, this is it. And then next thing I remember, I hear something pulling me, like a whoosh, pulling me out of the swimming pool. And next thing I remember, I'm coughing water off, and they're resuscitating me on the side of the swimming pool. Um, and I forgot all about that until that point, when I start like thinking of like, okay, was this too, like, was I really dead, or what happened there? And then another memory popped up when I was right around 25, 26 or so, when I fell asleep behind the wheel and I totaled the car, and nothing came out of that. Like, I could have checked out, but I didn't. So that was the experience. It kind of, the whole thing that get me thinking was that, why was I thinking that there's going to be another time or another like opportunity for me to do this over, or like, and why was I okay with this entire experience? And I decided to change everything drastically, because I wasn't happy with how I was living life until that point. And so right
So can
after
I
that,
interject right here? Um,
right.
Most people that I talk to who have had a near-death experience,
Hmm.
when they come back, the door doesn't close all the way. So some, the door stays way open, and they become channelers, kind of like Abraham Hicks, and
That's
others get messages, right?
Yeah,
So
that's exactly it. I was gonna get to that point.
okay, good.
So, so I was gonna get to that point. So fast forward, I changed the way I was eating because I was overweighted. I started to work out, and I was still stressed out from work because I was doing the IT, and that's very stressful. Sometimes I'll have like hospitals that are down and their paging systems are down, and they'll be on the phone like, let's bring it back up, and running around getting things going. um and then I'll have different customers that will be like stressing me out, and I started to meditate. Or maybe I was just looking for excuse to meditate. I don't know. I started to meditate, and I felt at peace. And I started from like 5 minutes to 10 minutes a day to like 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening. And I started to get into like weird outer states of being when I started to channel, which was the next thing. um, I'm still not sure how this whole channeling process starts. I am a conscious channel. I don't completely go off when I'm in the trance state. And I just have the feeling of something coming from above, like a light. And then I'll have different experiences, depends on what I'm channeling, or what's coming through.
Right.
But yeah, it works differently. I don't know if yours are, if they know how channeling works or what channeling is or whatnot. I don't know if you want to bring that in, but I can only describe what it feels like to me, because like
Right.
other people.
I would say, Yanko, that people that I've met, even those who have not had, like I've not had a near-death experience, but I get downloads, right?
Yes.
And I get feelings. So it depends on how you're a receiver. Everybody receives, like some people hear voices, right? Some people get impressions, right? Some people feel something in their body, right? And I get, it's almost like a heart thing, right? Right? Feeling. And I do get clarity as to what the intention of the message is, right? So I know that I'm translating what's going on, and I think that is the key here for people to understand, for anyone who does do this work. When you're dealing with reaching an altered state, what communication you get is not in your language, right?
Right.
You
Yeah.
translate it,
Right.
right, in order to understand. So
Yeah,
some, right, so
yeah,
some
and you
of the
put your
flavor
filters
and the
on.
juiciness and
Yeah.
the, right, you understand it completely, but you cannot express it.
Right. Because
Right.
language is very limited.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of like that. I get all flavors because maybe I get ease into it. After that, the whole everything changed. I went to what it felt like. Some people call it Kundalini awakening or the Kundalini syndrome, where you have energy go up to your spine
Yep.
through all your heart centers and chakras. I didn't have a full-blown Kundalini awakening from what I read, because the people that describe it, it's like going up the top of your head and just kind of like engulfing you. Mine stopped to my throat, and now it's still in a process where it's shifting between the throat and my third eye, and it's going back and forth when I meditate. But it was a weird, in a way, experience, because I didn't know anything about it. In I wasn't I wasn't any like, I was raised in a Orthodox Christian home, but I wasn't like into religion. Like, yeah, I mean, I'll go to church with my parents and everything, but that wasn't it. And the whole experience of having this energy move through my body and getting in outer state, it was really, really shaking my world almost. And it wasn't only that, but before this whole thing worked, it was just like going to steps, and it wasn't like a one-time thing that just goes. It kept on going for almost 3 to 4 months, when I'll have like body changes. I'll be sweating. I'll have jitters. I can't sleep. Different parts will be vibrating in the body. I'll have cold and hot sweats coming in. I'll wake up in like 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning, and I can't sleep.
I
you
still have
know,
that. I still have that.
and um, the body will start to adjust automatically, where you do mudras with your hands and the body will move energy and does work to repair whatever needs to repair. But at the beginning, it's very kind of scary experience. You almost think like you're going nuts, if I can describe it that way, because the whole perspective of reality changes within like seconds. You in one can have associative and dissociative experiences where all of a sudden it's on the side of the body and all of a sudden it's in the body, and having, going back and forth, or different perspectives and different things that are happening. There was an experience where I was different things outside the body. That wasn't like me. I wasn't. It wasn't like a out of body experience, because that feels like I still have a body, which isn't the body. But that outer experience was more like I was everything. Like I can choose what I want to be. Like I can be the carpet underneath in the room. I can be the meditation pillow, or I can be the legs of the table, or the tabletop, or the vase, or the air in the room, experiencing everything. And that was just a huge shock on my understanding and view of the world, and how I was seeing and perceiving the world before that, when it happened. But that
Did you have someone that you could go to and talk to when this?
no,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I didn't have anybody to reach out for help, but I kind of, I think I was guided. I don't know if I'm guided from the other side at that point. Now I know that I am, but like at that point, um, I'll get like weird things. I'll get guided to a book, and a book cover will pick up my interest, and I'll start reading the book, and there will be information, and I'll be like, okay. And then something else will pop up, or I'll meet somebody and I'll say, hey, there is a course or something that I was just reading about. And I'm like, okay, I just read about it. Let me go see. Like that's how it was with the channeling. I got introduced to it before it even started to happen, which I thought it was nuts. Like I was just like, this can't be real. This is all fake. Like, you know what I mean? When it's not happening to you and you're not going through the experience, you don't know. So in a way, it was scary, but not scary, because like I didn't know what's going on, but then I felt like I was supported, and I was getting
Yeah.
the information that I needed at the time.
So
So
I will tell you the earliest I can recall. I mean, I can remember astral projecting as a child, but I think even before astral projecting, I was walking down the street, and it hit me that this wasn't real, that this was just a reflection, and that I don't come from here. And I started to panic because I didn't know where I came from. Right. And would you go and tell your parents, you're not my parents? Where's my parents? Where do I come from? Right? No, of course not.
I mean, at one point, I had to sit down the entire family and tell them, like, listen, there's something going on with me. I want to let you know that I'm not going crazy.
Right.
Right. Just so you know, I'm not going crazy.
Right.
But
I'm having these experiences, right?
Yeah, I'm having experiences, and they were okay with like everything. I don't know, like I told them that I'm thinking that I'm going through some kind of like body mind transformation or spiritual awakening, and they didn't know anything about it, but they weren't like, hey, this is against our religion or anything like it, or like this is weird, or none of that. And they still support me, and I'm really grateful for it. It's just like it's the way things are unfolding in a way with the experiences and everything, it's just like little bits of everything, like at a time when I'm ready. And it's still going at my own pace, if I want to say
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you're anything like me, then you decided, well, I'm curious. I want to know more about what's going on now. And you got into hypnosis. So how did that happen? That fascinates me.
Well, that's kind of the same way, because like I'm coming from this technical background in working with machines and programming languages. I'm very analytical, and I still am. Like I'm very left brain, and I didn't know anything about it, but I wanted to research it and find out like, is this like how do I get in those states? Like, is there a recipe for it? Like, is it the pose that I'm sitting on? Different things, because it wasn't anything in particular, and that's how I started to researching it. In the trance state led me into hypnotism, and now that state, that outer state of being, it's something normal that happens to everyone
Absolutely.
during the day, many different times. And some people call it daydreaming, where you can just, you might be driving down the street with your car and you're not hitting anybody or anything, but your mind is somewhere else. You're like imagining palm trees, maybe you're on vacation or something else happening. So it's outer state, and many people produce differently. There is people that do singing balls, or people that do Reiki that puts their client in outer state of being, or there's people that do guided meditations, or singing and dancing and drumming. There's very many different ways that you can, achieve that outer state of being. But at the time, I didn't know. Just like trance state, and how do you get it? And that's how I got into hypnotism, because now, for one, I have the understanding, and then I have the experiences, and I felt like I can actually be a help to people that want to experience that state, in that thing that they're losing their mind. If
Right.
that
I mean,
makes any
I have
sense.
so many stories like running through my head. I had a roommate at one point when I was living in San Diego, and I went away for the weekend. And on the way back, one of her girlfriends called me and she said, "How close are you to the house?" And I said, maybe 20 minutes, half hour. And she said, "Well, the roommate is having this experience since Thursday night, and now it's Sunday, and she hasn't slept. I don't know if she's eaten, but she's out of her mind, crazy." And I'm like, okay, I knew exactly what was going on, right? Right. She had gone to a meditation, which was probably a Kundalini, right? And the leader did
Yeah.
not bring her down and anchor her when it was done, right? So I get
Yep.
home, and I can get some essential oils and work with you on some oils to bring you. And she like would have nothing. She was still like out of it. But she did go and take her
Yep.
shoes off and walk on the grass to get anchored, right? So
Yep.
you just froze. There you go, you're back. So there are different ways to get anchored, right? When you're, especially if you get a little frightened because you don't know what's going on. And that's what was happening with her. I mean, she was seeing things and
Yes.
whatever. And I went out and I bought her journals, each one a different color to go along with each chakra, and for her to write in the journal, whichever color she wanted to, what her experiences were over the weekend, so she could process through them. Right. So
Right.
it is not something that you want to play around with by yourself.
No.
No.
No. Definitely having somebody that had the experience, it's a great help. But at the time, for me, now we're living in the days where everyone has an experience and everyone shares their experiences. And to me, it was hard to trust somebody to be able to help me that's genuine and went through that experience and know what to tell me or what not. So I mostly kind of based my experiences with like books and scripture from East and like yogic text and things like it to get a better understanding. And the thing is that we're always guided. I mean, you're not alone on this journey.
Right.
You have assistance, and that was the other thing that, until I get a hold of like how do I channel, or I had many different things like you described, where at the beginning it was like sounds, then I'll get like downloads sometimes where I didn't have something, and all of a sudden like somebody puts it in my mind and I have like, now I understand, like a whole like aha moment.
Right.
But then other times I'll have experiences where whoever I'm connecting to, it's probing what kind of vocabulary I have. So I'd say something in German and I'll think, I don't speak German. Then I'll say something in Spanish and I'll be like, no, I don't speak Spanish. And it's like almost tweaking to find like how I can express it, and comes about. And so different times I'll have feeling sensations where I feel and understand through feeling, not just like downloads and then other times I'll have like somebody's dictating. And if I'm writing, it's fast enough. I can't like write it down because there's a difference between when you think and imagine something and when the mind does it on its own. There's a difference where you imagine it and you say, maybe I got inspired and I had a thought, totally different things. Once you experience it, you'll know what it feels like.
Right.
And
So
you
there,
know, it's not like you're imagining it.
no, there was a point where I literally said, there's too much information coming. I can't handle it all.
Slow down.
Right.
Yeah.
But I spoke to, and so here's something for you. I spoke to a friend of mine who is a channeler, and he said, Gail, don't block the flow. So I'm like, what I started doing instead was I'll handle what I can, and then the rest can go to someone else. So let it flow,
Right.
and I will act on what I can, and someone else will act on the rest, and that's fine.
Right.
Because it's not for me, ego Gail.
Right.
It's for the world, and I happen to be tuned in and picking up today.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But see, like I said, everything happens for reasons. Like you get guided, and it might not make sense to you, like because none of it until this point made sense to me. And now I'm starting to see patterns. Like, okay, I had experience of like speaking in the front of many people. That was maybe prepping me for something else. Um, you know, having to tune with radios, play with radio waves, other things to get like better understanding of like the whole process. Because in a way, now at this point, it's more of a tuning. Like I'm opening up like a radio receiver and I'm just kind of like seeing where I resonate with and tune in. And then when I tune in, then depends on like what I'm connecting to. I'll use tones with my mouth, like humming or or
Yep.
whatever.
Right.
And at the
That
beginning, it
creates a
was
vibration.
to get the vibration to where you're connecting to a line, because I have to bring myself up or down, and the same for them to meet halfway because we're in different vibrations. And so furthermore, after a couple of years that I've been meditating and connecting and doing different things, it started to channel weird, where my tongue will roll backwards, and when I'm humming, I'm generating two tones. When it's almost like that. Um, I forgot what nationality they are, but they're doing this throat singing where they're creating two tones which resonates, and then by varying the tones, I can feel it in the body where it resonates and how I'm getting in tune, and then it feels like almost like a dance to me. To stay in tune, that's how it
Yep,
feels to me.
yep, because you're yeah.
Yeah.
I was fortunate to be offered some sound therapy while I was going through chemo. And I also did body talk and Reiki. So I had a bunch of Eastern medicine things going on.
Mm,
And at one point during the sound and meditation, if you will, I literally felt the vibration go to my kidneys and my spleen because I know that area was being affected by the chemo.
yeah.
And it went right there, right there. And I'm like, well, you went exactly where I needed some help today.
Yep.
Right. So your body will know. And, he was making, we were all making our own vibrational sound. It wasn't like I was listening to him. So he
Right.
was just leading. And that me making that sound, whatever sound I was making, was the perfect sound for right then and there.
Well, and that's the evolution of it. So, the more you do it, and I don't do it as a business, or I don't offer it to like do it for people because I'm doing the hypnotism,
Mm-hmm.
and that's enough for me to be able to help somebody help themselves, because everyone has everything inside them that they need to be able to be healthy and to have the knowledge and where they're going and connecting, because everything is interconnected. There is no duality. We're experiencing duality, but everything it's one.
We create the separation. There is no separation.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So let's
Yep.
talk. So you've done you did a lot of personal development, a lot of personal exploration, and then you decided, because you weren't happy in the business that you were in, I can relate, um, to enter into the world of hypnosis and be a hypnotist. How did that happen? And let's talk a little bit about some of the clients' experiences they have with you.
Well, that I got eased in like everything else, because, like I said at the beginning, I'm very critical and thinking all the time, analyzing, and like, okay, this isn't like, maybe like at the beginning I wasn't even buying into the whole thing.
Right.
So I started with like little courses here and there. What I'll do, like what people call stage hypnotism for entertainment, where I'll help somebody get in trance and glue their hands together or their legs, or change the way they see reality or perceive it. Like I can introduce a smell sensation that's not there, like, or like something that they might visualize, like a negative or positive um, hallucination, they call it in hypnotism. So that was kind of fun, but I wasn't really like thinking much of it, because again, you're getting guided through the whole thing. And then I went to get another course and another course, and it was more at that point for like my own understanding.
Right.
And at one point, I was just sitting one day in the meditations, and I'm just vibing, and I'm sitting in bliss, and I'm thinking, how can I do this for somebody else? Like how can I, like, help somebody get in that state when the problem ain't problem. There's no problems. There's nothing. You're just being, and it's blissful, and you don't want to do anything else. if I can describe it that. And that's what led me into further like going into school. I went to Florida Institute of Hypnotherapy, where I get trained through and through with everything. They have different types of trainings for just regular hypnotism, and then they have what they call clinical, where you work on medical setting with like doctors. Um, because being a hypnotist is not like being a psychotherapist or a doctor. You can't prescribe or treat or anything, but you can work with doctors to in medical settings to help people that, for example, are allergic to anesthetic and they have no other options. So they can numb their body parts with the power of their minds, like the yogis do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or you can help with trance state in a medical setting with doctor observation, they're present to not heal the person, but help with symptoms like say vomiting or something else that's happening, or pain management, because everyone experiences pain in different ways.
Right.
So if the pills are not working and they don't want to like use morphine or something else, and they want to keep their body toxicity to a low level or anything, or alternative way to manage pain, there's hypnotism. So I did that, and then there was a transpersonal side of the hypnotism, which helps you explore previous lives and different lifetimes or life between lives, where you go in the staging area before you jump into the human body, or astral projection, or many different other ways of outer state of being.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I'm actually enjoying doing with the work that I do. I um, help people with past life experiences, or I help them with different outer states of beings where they can make changes with whatever they're perceiving or doing, or getting understanding. Because like if you're going through a spiritual journey, everyone is different, because everyone experiences reality in differently. And so some people might experience like visions and dream states and not understand. So hypnosis, it's also a good tool to um, go back in that outer state and connect with that part of the brain that does the feelings, images, sensations, emotions, not the logical part, like the right part of the brain, not the left. In that state, you can make sense more of like, what was that about? Like, because some people have repeating dreams or other things like it. So that's another thing that can be done with that outer state. To my opinion, everything that the brain can do, it's just
It's
anything you
phenomenal.
can think of, it's phenomenal. Yes. If you
It's
can
phenomenal.
think of like spaceships and send them out of space and all that, imagine what else you can do.
So one of I had a training class that I was running, and I think it was I work with people on the getting to the dark side, right? And somehow we got into spirituality in the discussion in this particular class. And I said, so we use what? Maybe 10% of our brain? Maybe. I said, there will be a time where we will be using enough of our brain that if we want a new kitchen table, we will create
Manifest it.
the kitchen
Yep.
table.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And people will look back at how we lived with businesses cutting down trees and making the table as barbaric.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But we don't have the capacity yet. We're just entering the era of mankind where we are exploring our capabilities. And that's because of the internet.
That's right.
Right? It's because of the internet that information is readily available. People are talking to each other who never would have met before, ever, right? Holding conversations, asking questions, and those who are curious are opening up their minds to things that they never experienced before. And we're able to research and find, yes, there's a lot of stuff out there that's not true as well, right? So you learn to be discerning. This is not an encyclopedia. It's like I can put anything out there and pretend
Right.
it's true, right? But you do your research, right? You
Well,
learn
what
how to
resonates with
navigate.
you? Not only research, because sometimes, research will get you so far, and then you actually have to put the knowledge to work
You
or
have to
use.
do it. You have
Right.
to do
You
it.
have to do it to
There's
understand it. Like,
gold in
right,
action, right? There's
right.
gold in
Yeah.
action. And
So it's not,
go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, and not be worried about doing it wrong. There
Right.
is no doing, especially if you're doing you. How can you do you wrong,
Right.
right?
Well, I have a different perspective on the you, because I don't think there's me. Like, this is a character that it's playing in this body.
Yeah,
Yeah, there is something above the character that's
that's the
observing
you.
and seeing. Yeah, that's the
Yep,
me.
that's the you.
There's
Yep.
no there's no me. And then a lot of that knowledge that comes in, or channeling, or whatever you want to call it, we already have it. Like, everyone already had it, but it gets so much away from the truth and everything else that you just forget how to use it. When it started to happen to me, it was confusing and everything, but then I knew that stuff. Like, not me knew that stuff, but like I've done this many times before. I
Right. This
have
is so
that feeling,
familiar.
like, yeah, it's familiar. It's like okay, it's kind of like, how your shoes feel like. I mean,
Right.
they're like shoes, but like, okay, this is the body, and I've done this so many times. Um, so, and my personal belief right now, because we never get the bigger picture, we're just, and that's why we're in the human body, to have the experience, what I feel like.
It's true. I believe
and
that's true.
and we always get like a little bit more, because if everything comes in once and we can't get it in this, like, a small part, we can't make sense of it. And still, a lot of the stuff, um there's no making sense. And like earlier, like you said, a lot of the stuff, when you tune in and channelize, you're like a filter. You're putting your own vocabulary, everything else that you understand, like everything else. And then there's moments when you channel, you just channel sounds, because there is no representation to whatever it's happening. There's
But you
no,
can feel it,
right, but you can feel it, right?
right?
There's the feeling, yes.
Right.
So, in this is why before I thought that language can explain a lot of things, but now I'm coming to realize that no, language is very limiting, because, and this is why there's a lot of confusion and communication in relationship between people, because I might mean one thing and try to express it, but that might sound something else to you, based on your experiences and everything else, when the other person will get triggered, say, well, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? Because you didn't mean it in the way you meant it. You had an idea, but like using language to send that idea off, it's totally off. Like, so it's like, if you can telepathically exchange images and send the other person what you want and what you mean, that'll be so much better than try to put descriptive words and sounds and other things. And yeah, but that's how I'm thinking now.
You know, I'll share a quick little story. So the sound guy that I was talking to you about, he wanted to do a shared experience with me, so an
Hmm.
astrologically shared experience. So we got together and he was doing the sound, and I went into meditation. He went into a meditation, and I created a space where I wanted to hang out. And he was doing healing on me. And when we were done, we shared our experience. Now, I was laying on the beach. This is what I saw, right? Because I love the feeling of hot sand. I'm like a snake. Get me a hot rock and let me lay on it. I'm happy, right? Right. So I'm laying in the sand, and the spirit me is now up in what I call the matrix, right up there, looking down and watching actually more than one reality of me, with multiple me's and multiple him working on me, right? And then we were done. His experience was he decided to go play in the water, right? And then went parasailing and was up in the air watching me laying on the sand and watching him working on me. So he had the same observation, but from his play space, if you will.
Right.
Right. Because we both decided to play while we were there. Right. We were there for business, but we played. Right. And we played in our own way. So I found it interesting. Now, he didn't see multiple, he just saw one, but it was still me. I was laying on the sand and like really hunkered into the sand and watching him work on me from above, and I was from above. So we're starting to learn and play with, let's create a mutual environment and do something together there, and then come back and share the experience and see where the similarities are, right?
Yeah.
I will tell you quite honestly, I had to give him permission. You don't have permission to come into my sphere unless I give it to you, because I used to work with someone who was always poking in there. And I finally closed the door to her and closed the door. You know, if I give you permission, you're welcome in, right? But if I don't give you permission, you're not going to get in. So
Well, I personally think that giving permission for anybody to come in, it's not wise enough, because one body, one soul at a time. That's what I'll say. You know, you can still have exchanges with beings and other things next to you, outside of you, above you, anywhere, but not inside this body.
No,
Like,
you can come
yeah,
and check out my head, but you can't come in here, right?
right.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm very protective as far as that's concerned. And except for Source and I is like, oh, and in fact, when I had body talk done, in one session, she said, your body is telling me it wants to open up more to Source. And she said, Gail, you're ridiculously balanced. You're already open, but your body is saying more. I said, well, part of this experience that I'm going through was intended to tune my body to take more.
Right.
So open her up.
And,
Right.
and here's the other thing. I had that thought, and I want to share it before it goes away.
Yeah.
A lot of the times when you don't have images or representation of how to see something in reality, then your mind can play tricks on you, and that can create a fear of something that exists that it's not really there. Like, if you're walking in the dark and you're looking in the dark and your eyes are adjusting and everything, and you might start seeing like bushes or something else starting to look like animals, or if you're in the snow, you're starting to see like mirages and other things, because your mind, it's capable of, you know, finding what representation you have as images or anything else. So in the beginning, that was kind of hard for me to wrap my understanding around the whole concept of, like, if you're connecting to something, like you said, it might look like something to you, but if somebody else is sharing that experience with you, it might look totally different, because everyone has their own representation of things. And in jumping ahead of time, in like going into like, oh my god, what's happening, and like protecting yourself, it doesn't really like serve you much. But if you're curious, you find a way to like see what is this really like. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Yeah, there really isn't. I have no fear. There is no fear. I still will only give permission. You need permission,
Right. Right.
right? This
No,
is
I was
my
gonna say,
realm.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. I
Like
was gonna
you
say,
probably couldn't hypnotize me until I give you permission, and then I'd go under,
right, yeah,
right?
that's exactly it. And that's one of the misconceptions about hypnotism too, because like I'll see people when I'm advertising or doing something, and I'm talking to people to do education on the topic, and they say, "You're not gonna hypnotize me, right?" Like, and they look away or they
Oh
get
my
like
gosh,
something
yeah,
else,
right?
or they run away and they say, "You're going by some kind of code, right?" You're like, "You're not gonna do something or make me quack like a chicken or something like that." I'm like, "That's not how it works." Um, but uh, I was gonna say I'm kind of in the same boat with you, because once you go through a near death experience and you realize, but not like reading book realize, but realize that it doesn't end there. You're not this human that's gonna end and go to nothingness and darkness, and you're done and you're done, and you have to grab the life by the tail and live it to the extent, because you're gonna die soon, and there won't be no more of you or anything like it. um, you're not afraid of anything after that. So
Because you
I'm with
realize
you.
that the you
Yeah.
is eternal,
Yep. Yep.
right? Right. And
So
I think that, to me, the only thing that would be sad is that I would miss what's going on with family. I would miss, like, I'm curious as to, what's going to happen in the next 10 years with the evolution of awareness that's going on with people. I'm curious as what's going to happen in the next 20 years, right? I'm curious, right?
yeah.
But I can observe that,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
observe and not participate, right? And there was a time where, it was a hypnotist that I was seeing, and when I walked in the room, the first thing she said, "You're an old soul." I said, "I know." And I said, "Will I earn my wings this time?" She said, "No, you'll have to come back." Oh, really? Right. And now, with more awareness, I'm like, that would be fun to do it again. Okay, we'll do it again.
It is, and when you get to that point, you don't feel like, I have clients that come in and say, "Well, I want to be done with this karma and not have another lifetime with my husband or something else, or I want to clean it all now, like, and never come back," and all
Yeah,
these other
good luck with
things.
that.
But yeah, but I am at the point where I'm actually enjoying everything, and I'm feeling blessed to be here because of the times that are happening now are
Yes.
so exciting. Um, and I'm like excited to be in the now and the happening with the shift and everything else that it's happening. Um, it's almost like honor that I get to be in this body and have this experience and be here and live through the whole shift and actually experience it. Um, and this is kind of like you said earlier, when you're little, you got a knowing, and I kind of had a knowing that there's something else out there, and I'm looking up to the stars and like ETs and sci-fi movies, and I'm so excited about the whole thing and everything. And and now more of like, if even they say, "Well, you don't have to come back or anything," I'll be like, "Sign me up. I want to come back. It's so
Right.
exciting to be here." I mean, if you can have all this duality where you fell in love with yourself again, or be able to, like, even drinking coffee, it's an experience that you're having. Everything, it's
Oh,
experience
I
that you're
have to tell
having.
you, and then we need to wrap this up. So, the first thing that I lost was my taste buds.
Hmm.
Well, they came back during a body talk session. She said, "Your body wants me to work on your taste buds." And I'm like, "I'm still getting chemo. This isn't going to work." Well, it worked, right? And I so appreciate every taste now, like I never did before.
Right.
Right. And so when you say the coffee, it's like, it doesn't matter whether the coffee has a kick or not. It's the taste of the coffee. That's the first thing I missed was that, this is just hot water, right? This is nothing in the morning.
It's the experience. Like it doesn't have to be a coffee. It could be the wind blowing
Yes,
against your head and you're
right?
outside and you're having that experience. And and this is the thing. Always the free things in life are the ones that are actually like joyful to experience. Anything else that you go after, it's like you have everything that you need, like experiencing sun or like having I don't know. I think this is what life is meant to be, just to have the experience.
That's right.
But that
And
that
learn from it.
perspective can change. I don't
Right,
know.
learn and
People
grow, learn and
yeah.
grow, learning and grow. So Yanko, if someone wanted to get in touch with you and learn more, how would they do that?
They can go to my website, which is www.hypnoyan.com, which is hypnoyan.com.
Oh, of
Um,
course.
and there, all my contact information is there. They can look up my Facebook page, which is also Hypnoyan LLC, or look me up on YouTube. I'm in a process of making educational videos on YouTube about hypnosis and the whole process and everything else, sharing experiences and other things, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, well,
From
those will be in the notes. So guys, you don't have to write it all down. And
wonderful.
thank you, Yanko. I know we could talk forever. Oh my gosh,
Oh,
we just hit the
absolutely,
tip of the iceberg here. There's so much
absolutely.
more, so much more. Thank you for joining me. And folks, if you really enjoyed this, absolutely give us a thumbs up. If you have a question, please put it in the comments. If you know someone who would enjoy or learn from this particular episode, please do share it out. And as always, I ask you to subscribe so that you know when the very next episode is available. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Yanko.